I'm willing to bet that you probably check your bank account regularly. You track your spending, monitor your balance, notice where your money is going. And if you don't, you also probably know the value of that, right? Like, even if you don't do those things, you understand the importance of those things if you want to be responsible with money. And nobody calls that obsessive. Nobody says that you have a complicated relationship with your finances because you're paying close attention to them. We call that responsible. So why, when it comes to food journaling, do we have so many stories about it? Today, I want to make a case for food journaling with some important honesty attached. Welcome to your daily hit of grace and grit, your quick dose of inspiration to kickstart your day. I'm Courtney Townley, and here is today's hit. Let me be clear from the start. A food journal is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used well, it can be used poorly, or used by the wrong person at the wrong time for the wrong reasons. A hammer can build a house or break a window. That doesn't make hammers bad. It makes intentionality really important. So for women who are mentally and emotionally in a relatively healthy place with food, who are not in active recovery from an eating disorder, who are not using tracking as a form of punishment or control, food journaling can be one of the most honest and illuminating health practices available. And I say this emphatically because I have 10 years of working with clients very specifically with food journaling. I have 10 years of experience. As many of you know, I was very rooted in fat loss and body recomposition for many years. And food journaling was the tool that made that possible. And while it has benefits in terms of fat loss and body recomposition, the education alone that people get from tracking their food for a while is worth the effort. We live in an era of extraordinary food abundance and extraordinary food confusion. Portion sizes have ballooned. Ultra-processed foods are engineered to override our satiety signals. It is genuinely easy, so easy, to overconsume in ways that you don't even register. And the number of women that have told me over the years, I'm doing everything right with my food, but nothing's working. Their food journal tells a very different story. They're overconsuming, they're underconsuming, their macros are really unbalanced. There's so much value to reap from that information. A food journal cuts through the noise and gives you actual data about what you're actually doing, not what you think you're doing. So what I've seen again and again, both in my own life and working with a lot of women around food journaling, is there's almost always a gap between what we think we're eating and what we're actually eating. And let's be honest, a lot of people don't want a food journal because they don't want that level of honesty. That is a radical truth. And although I don't think that we love to lie to ourselves, we are human. And humans forget the handful of nuts we grabbed on the way through the kitchen, or we don't count the bites that we finished off of our kids' plates. We underestimate portions because our portions have been quietly creeping up for years. And honestly, I think a lot of grown adults still lack the understanding of what's actually in their food. So some people will say that peanut butter is a protein source. It's not a protein. Yes, it has protein in it, but compared to the amount of fat it has in it, it's not a protein source. And I could give you examples of 500 different foods where those kinds of conversations have come up. A food journal really closes that gap, right? It creates a level of honesty and understanding that is very hard to achieve without it. And radical honesty, not perfection, not restriction, but awareness, honest awareness, is always where real change begins. I have seen food journaling move mountains over my career. Women who had these very fierce stories that nothing would work for them. And all of them were resistant to food journaling because it takes effort, because it does create a level of a container where we are setting the standards for how we eat through the day, and we're trying to stay within those standards. I'm not talking about extreme restriction here. I'm talking about paying attention and being intentional with our food. I will say, of course, as a caveat, I think I said this earlier, but I will say it again, that food journaling, of course, is not for everyone. Again, if you have a history of an eating disorder, really complicated disordered eating, if tracking has ever been a vehicle for you for punishment or obsession, if the act of logging food makes you feel more anxious than informed, this is not the tool for you right now. I would push back a little bit on that last point, right? If food journaling makes you feel more anxious than informed, I think there's thought work to be doing around the tool, because the way you're thinking about it is creating the anxiety. There are other ways to build a healthier relationship with food that don't involve tracking. That is absolutely true. But tracking your food, just like tracking your money or tracking any other behavior in your life, can be incredibly illuminating. And even those who use it, those who really benefit from it, it's not meant to be a permanent lifestyle, right? Nobody wants to track their food every day for the rest of their life. So I'm always, when I introduce the tool to anyone who is ready for it, I'm always sure to emphasize that it's really a season to be using it in, not a sentence, right? This isn't going to become a way of life. This is a tool that we're using right now to really understand what's going on with your eating patterns and to become more intentional about your eating patterns. There are periods where being more dialed in with your food makes a lot more sense. When you are trying to create some physiological response, when something in your health has shifted and you need better data, when you've drifted and you want to recalibrate, food journaling is awesome for all of those things. And there are periods where you're not food journaling at all because life is flowing, your habits are solid, and the journal would add friction rather than clarity. The goal is to use the tool when it is useful to you and put it down when it isn't. So what does useful food journaling actually look like? Well, a few quick principles if you're going to try it. Journal for awareness, not judgment, right? We always bring curiosity to the exercise of food journaling, not judgment. The goal is information, not a grade, not a punishment. It's just data. It's not personal. It says nothing about you in terms of the quality of your character. It is just data. And initially, I think it's really helpful as a gateway to using the tool to just record what you're eating, right? Just acknowledge what is going in your mouth. Be complete, right? The bites, the sips, the handfuls, log it all. Otherwise, it's not a useful exercise. The power of a journal, of tracking anything, is in the honesty. And a partial log gives you partial information. And we start to weave the story that nothing is working when we aren't fully honest. If you're going to use some kind of tracking for your food, look for patterns, not just totals, right? What are you eating when you're stressed? What does your energy feel like after certain meals? Where do the wheels consistently come off? The patterns are where the gold lives. So we want to review what's happening, right? We want to review it with asking good questions. And if you don't know how to do that, I think this is where coaching can come in. Like a good coach who has worked with food journaling can really help you to ask good questions and help highlight patterns that you may not see on your own. A food journal that you never assess with good questions is really just a diary. And the value of food journaling is actually in the reflection. So again, circling back to where we started, we would never dream of running our finances on vibes, right? We track, we review, we adjust. And yes, sometimes you're doing that more often than not, right? The degree to which you're doing that might shift throughout the year and throughout the seasons. But our health deserves the same level of honest attention. Food journaling, the tool, is just a tool. It is not good or bad. It can be used for reasons that are useful. It can also be used for reasons that are really unuseful. Done with the right intention and with the right mindset, I truly feel that it is one of the most powerful forms of self-knowledge available to you around your health. Because think about it, we are eating food all day long, every single day of our lives. Yes, sure, you might fast once in a while, but largely, you're eating multiple meals a day, every day. And to acknowledge what that is made up of, that food is made up of, and how it's affecting your physiology is really a fast track to correcting what isn't working. So you can look at it as a punishment. You could look at it as a diet. But I don't think it's either one of those things. It's a practice in paying attention to something that matters enormously, just like your finances. So if you are someone who's been considering tracking food, but you also have been dragging your feet about it, or you feel a little bit nervous about it, I would say, number one, doing it with the support of someone can really be instrumental, right, in making it easier and less, causing less suffering. But also just give it a shot for 2 weeks, right? Try it for 2 weeks. But here's the thing. If you do it for 2 weeks, but you're not consistent, it doesn't tell you anything. But if you go all in for 2 weeks, I guarantee you are going to learn something about yourself, something about your relationship with food. And I guarantee there will be something in there that will surprise you. Again, we think we fully understand our relationship with food, but helping women to look at their food journals over the years, and keep in mind, this is not primarily the work that I do anymore. It's not the soul of the work that I do. But when I am working with a client who is wrestling with her relationship with food to the degree that she realizes she has some patterns that aren't serving her and she wants to nourish herself better. I'm not talking about eating disorders here. Food journaling definitely has a place. And I will introduce the tool still where it feels like it would be useful. So just consider, like, what's your narrative around food journaling? And have you ever given it a real honest go? Or is it something that you kind of have half-assed, for lack of a better way of saying it, and then also concluded that it doesn't work, realizing that you never really fully gave it a chance? If this stirred something inside of you, imagine what a whole book of clarity and courage could ignite. The Consistency Code, a midlife woman's guide to deep health and happiness, goes even deeper into the mindset and practices that create real, meaningful change at midlife. Grab your copy today over at theconsistencycode.com and keep the momentum alive.